Welcome to the Hope for the Journey podcast, a weekday wellness tips program presented by Dr. Denise Marie, Third Order Carmelite. Dr. Denise is a professionally qualified clinical psychologist, health and wellness professor and coach, counselor, plus medicinal herbs educator. Each Hope for the Journey podcast features a well-being key from Dr. Denise, helping you meet your self-care needs for living well. Listener discretion is advised because this and other Hope for the Journey episodes may contain discussions surrounding behavioral health problems and other actual potentially triggering topics.
Hello, and good day, everyone. Welcome back to Hope for the Journey. I hope things are coming along okay for you today. My name is Dr. Denise, and on today's episode of the podcast, our topic is singing worship music, which is a spiritual self-care key for living well. Yes, it is true that singing on your own is fun. Yet, I have a question for you. Did you know that singing also has both physical and psychological benefits for your well-being? That there is even such a thing as sound therapy. So what about if your singing is worship music? Can you imagine how that would be for extra help toward increasing your overall wellness? Let's take a closer look at what numerous research investigations have shown about the health benefits of singing. Let's start with how singing benefits you psychologically speaking. So on the psychological level, singing boosts intellectual functioning. Singing does this by increasing one's mental alertness, one's concentration, one's learning, satisfaction with school, and also memory sharpness. Believe it or not, certain of this research has discovered that musicians and singers generally have higher IQs or intellectual quotients than those who are not musicians. So this is very interesting about singing boosting intellectual functioning. Yet psychologically speaking, singing also has been found to lower stress. Singing decreases the levels of the stress hormone called cortisol in terms of it running through your bloodstream. Singing also has been found to decrease anxiety and panic. It serves as a positive emotional experience for people. Singing has been shown to also reduce feelings of loneliness. Singing can assist you with suppressed emotions or buried alive emotions. These feelings can come flooding to the surface when one is singing at odd, often surprising moments, instead of remaining where it has been, bottled up, buried alive, unfelt. And it is a good thing then to not have these feelings tying up some of your best energy, but instead released so that one can have more energy for living well. So in addition to deep emotional release, Singing has also been found to help regulate or maintain one's emotional balance. In fact, singing, in one study in particular, was shown to help lower anger levels in inmates. So for prisoners, decreasing anger levels is quite a good thing. The relaxing music had this effect. Singing is also a natural antidepressant. Persons who sing have reported greater happiness, so they're less likely to be sad or depressed. Singing has been found to assist people's sleep quality, and even for sufferers of sleep apnea, singing has been found to have positive effect. Singing has also been found to enhance self-confidence. It can lessen one's perception of pain. So singing can be considered an alternative tool to pain medication for use in helping to manage pain. Though, of course, it is a good idea to talk to your doctor before considering making any changes in prescribed treatments. While studies show that music can provide some relief, it is not meant to take away the pain going on completely. Singing has also been found to increase one's quality of life. So if you're just considering taking as a whole these research results on the psychological benefits of singing, it is really quite a bundle of pluses for living better. But now I would like to move on to looking at how singing can benefit one physically speaking. Singing results in people having more healthy lungs because singing assists one's breathing more deeply. So there's greater oxygen intake and oxygen presence in the bloodstream. Singing also assists in the fight against disease. And it's quite impressive to look at some of the research on how singing helps in the fight against disease. Physically speaking, cardiovascular diseases, for example, such as coronary heart disease and hypertension, upper respiratory diseases such as the common cold, autoimmune diseases such as MS, multiple sclerosis, inflammatory conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, human immunodeficiency diseases such as HIV and AIDS. Interestingly enough, in fighting against disease, people who sing require fewer visits to the doctor and have been found to need less medication. So, about singing's benefits physically speaking, scientific investigations have also discovered that singing serves as an immune system booster. Singing raises one's level of antibodies. One study even finding how singing increases the secretion of antibodies. Singing also lowers one's blood pressure. In fact, choral singing healthily raises one's heart rate. Singing has been researched to be considered an anti-aging activity. And in particular, singing can increase your lifespan. One scientific investigation reported an increased life expectancy, especially due to the fact that singing promotes enhanced mental as well as physical health. So, in the light of all of these psychological and physical health benefits of singing, you might be wondering why today's podcast topic is about singing worship music. Why would singing worship music in particular be something to consider for increasing one's well-being? For example, singing the Psalms, singing hymns, and other spiritual songs. As you can imagine, there happens to be better music choices versus worse music choices. For example, in a related way, research has found that classical music, while it is the least popular genre of music, it is actually more empowering than other types of music. So if you consider looking more closely at worship music, you can imagine how worship music by its very nature is peace-filled music, relaxing music. So that helps fight against worry and anxiety. One study on healthy women showed how peaceful music has a positive effect on the human stress response. Also, worship music is meditative. And so worship music can bring about all of the wellness benefits that have been found with meditation as part of one's well-being practices. Then, of course, singing worship music promotes movement, even just in terms of the movement associated with singing in itself. It is an aerobic exercise. And above and beyond, singing worship music is good for your soul. Singing itself is a part of worship. Singing can help you worship God in a very enjoyable way. As the old saying goes, singing is praying twice. So at this point, you might be wondering how much singing you do in your regular schedule. How might you increase the amount of singing worship music in your day-to-day life? I'm sure you could probably think of a few ways to increase it, but I will just review a couple of idea categories to see whether you might consider that any of these can be applied in your life on a regular basis. Singing in the shower. How about that? Listening more to music radio. Create singing playlists that feature your favorite tunes that are peaceful music. How about the idea of joining a local choir? How about enhancing the variety of music that you listen to and sing to? Broaden your singing horizons. What about singing your heart out more in church? How about attending musicals and really giving yourself a chance to enjoy singing along when that is an opportunity, a possibility? What about taking part in the occasional karaoke event? How about singing more with your family, especially at occasions of celebration? I think that it is clear from what I've discussed with you today that singing worship music is especially good for your spiritual wellness, especially in a psychologically whole way. Singing worship music is uncomplicated, it is low cost, and certainly makes for a low risk exercise for your physical health as well. In summary, singing worship music makes for a ready, positive addition to your self-care routine. Moving forward with today's discussion, I would like to bring our attention to two people who have not held back from singing worship music in their lives. The first person is Rich Mullins. Rich Mullins was a famous American contemporary Christian music singer and songwriter. He was best known for his worship song, Awesome God. Rich was much influenced in his life by St. Francis of Assisi, whose life so inspired Mullins that Rich made vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Then I wanted to talk about another person very involved in singing worship music, and that is Phil Keaggy. Phil Keaggy is an American acoustic and electric guitar virtuoso, as well as vocalist and gospel music Hall of Famer. Phil Keaggy has actually released over 60 solo albums, as well as having made contributions to many more recordings in the CCM, or contemporary Christian music scene. He has also done very well in mainstream music markets. Two of my favorite Phil Keaggy songs are Little Ones and The Survivor. If you take a look at Phil's online bio at www.philkeaggy.com, you can see a lot of interesting things about him. And one of the things I read about Phil Keaggy is how, quote, he is aware that God gave him a calling to deliver the gospel through his music. And for over 40 years, Phil Keaggy has been grateful to do just that, and will hopefully continue to do so for many years to come, end quote. Both Rich Mullins and Phil Keaggy have many singable songs for you to consider adding into your own Sound of Music options. And Rich and Phil certainly understand singing worship music as a key spiritual practice for living well. At this point, I wanted to mention one piece of music that particularly supports today's podcast topic of singing worship music. I have selected the song called Forever by Carrie Job, written by Carrie with Brian Johnson and a couple of others. It is the first single from Carrie's album Majestic. This song comes out of sacred scripture from the book of Revelation, chapter 5, verse 13, where it says, "To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever." Carrie Job has said that this song emphasizes, as do other scriptures, quote, how Jesus overcame death forever. End quote. Here are a few of the lyrics on the internet which I read next. His perfect love could not be overcome. Now, death, where is your sting? Our resurrected King has rendered you defeated. Forever he is glorified. Forever he is lifted high. Forever he is risen. He is alive. He is alive. We sing Alleluia. We sing Alleluia. We sing Alleluia. The Lamb has overcome. So as Carrie Job has readily sung this song in worship of God, you can also sing such worship music. And not only as a prayer practice, but also as an exercise that benefits your spiritual and general well-being. Next, I would like to draw your attention to some extra possible care for you and your overall wellness by indicating the following. A set of health foods to encourage you to sing worship music more often. And singing worship music more often is our spiritual self-care key of the day. Though please discuss these 3 items that I will discuss with your doctor before sampling them for yourself on behalf of taking into account your unique health situation. Now, of course, it makes sense to drink plenty of water before singing, especially water at room temperature. Yet there are actually a good number of best foods to eat before starting to sing. I have chosen 3 of these foods here as complementary to both body and soul functioning. First, I selected sweet potato, which has much vitamin A to keep your mucous membranes nice and healthy. Then I can suggest tofu. Tofu is produced from pressed curds of soybeans. Tofu is rich in nutrients and includes health-promoting minerals. Then there is Manuka honey, which has antibacterial properties. So if you have a sore throat or some discomfort in your voice, you can let a teaspoon of Manuka honey drizzle down your throat. This helps to keep bacteria away and assists a sore throat to heal faster. Manuka honey also is antiseptic and anti-inflammatory, which serves to prevent infection spread and also to speed up sore throat recovery. Many singers insist that honey is a sore throat remedy, as well as a top food for protecting their fragile vocals. Yet remember my words about discussing the trio of foods that I've mentioned today with your doctor to ensure their compatibility with your particular health needs. Otherwise, I am glad to underline sweet potato, tofu, and Manuka honey as gifts of nature, not only for voice support toward regularly singing worship music, but also for your overall health. Today, I also wanted to share this brief item with you, a post-it note I have written to encourage you to sing worship music as part of your self-care routine. So I hope you will take to heart these words from a friend, actually from the Psalms, Psalm 92, verses 1 and 2. It is good to praise the Lord and make music to your name, O Most High, proclaiming your love in the morning and your faithfulness at night. And for the other item on today's podcast, I wish to make reference to a phone app on behalf of singing worship music. This app is called Christian Music and Songs. It is from Jamil Metiba. This app developer, Jamil, describing the app says, "This is the best app for listening to Christian music on your smartphone or tablet. Enjoy a high-quality radio that streams the best songs for Christians. It's a free app." End quote. Further, going beyond this Christian Music and Songs app, remember to bear in mind that there are other aids to wellness to learn about within our Hope for the Journey podcast resource center located on Instagram at Cause for Hope. And lastly, to tie up this evening's discussion, I am glad to let you know that it's been my pleasure to spend this podcast episode with you today on the topic of singing worship music, to review this spiritual self-care key for your life. And please know that I personally wish you more hope for the journey of greater well-being.
The Hope for the Journey program airs weekday evenings from 7:45 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram and YouTube. Dr. Denise thanks you for listening to her Community Wellness podcast and wishes you to keep in mind that there is cause for hope of more well-being.